I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, I haven't even touched Black Ops 4 Zombies in really over a week now, and that's not to say I haven't been playing Black Ops 4, I've been playing a ton of Blackout and some of multiplayer, but Zombies is just something that's not really appealing to me lately, and of course I'm sure you guys all know where I'm going with this because obviously the title of the video, but I personally feel that this Black Ops 4 Zombies is not really that replayable, and it's really with almost all 4 of the maps on release, and I don't think I'm the only one who really feels this way, because if you guys have seen all the zombie streamers and YouTubers, where are all their streams and videos? I'm really not seeing them all that often. I mean, you see the occasional one that they're grinding something or something along those lines, I guess, but for the most part, how many people are just streaming zombies for fun or for challenges or stuff like that? You just don't see it. And the same thing with videos, you just again do not see much of it. And recently I decided to start looking into the reason or thinking about the reason why that this is the case, and at one point I was thinking that maybe this zombies game just isn't fun. The 4 maps we got weren't fun, but then I realized, well, I had a ton of fun really for a long time, or at least at first when I was playing these maps, but it's been more recently that I haven't really had a desire or even want to play these maps, and that's when I finally came to the conclusion that these maps are just not really that replayable, and I just think that a lot of people probably will agree with that. And there are people who will say that well, of course they're going to be kind of stale and they're not going to be that really lively because the game has been out for over a month now. But then I would say to you 2 things. First, didn't Treyarch say that this was going to be the most replayable zombies experience ever? I mean, what happened to that? And then what happened to all of us in the zombies community saying that we were going to have 4 maps on launch and there was going to be so much content that was going to last us through the winter and then some? What happened to all of that? Because it's only been a month, just a little bit over a month since this game has came out, and really not that many people are really streaming or making videos of this, and I'm personally just not playing it all that often lately. And again, I think that all comes down to its lack of replayability. Now, I will talk about this from my personal perspective, but again, like I said earlier, I do feel like a lot of people may agree with me. But another thing I should mention is something that I forgot, so we're going to ignore. Oh yeah, we're going to ignore it. I don't care what I had to say, but let's actually how I decided to go about figuring out if this game was actually, well, what the problem with the lack of replayability was, is to look at the most replayable zombies game of all time, and that was Black Ops 3 Zombies easily. For me personally, the Rising Rocket, that Easter egg alone, I've beat at least 100 times, and that's just to give you, just to be more on the conservative side. I've beat that Easter egg so many times for fun, for challenges, for speedruns, for streams, just for so many different reasons. I play it over and over again, so I do know that that game is super fun and replayable. I want to see what that game did that Black Ops 4 is lacking to do, to see what exactly the problem is with this lack of replayability. And personally, I came down to at least 2 different things that are telling me why this game isn't that replayable. Now, I think that you can look at, again, the 2 main things, and that is Easter eggs and high rounds. But what I want to focus on is the Easter eggs and different parts of the Easter eggs, because again, I went back and looked at Black Ops 3 and looked at the difference between these. I looked for the main things that drew at least me to play these games over and over again, or these maps over and over again in Black Ops 3, and see what's lacking in Black Ops 4. And the first thing I came up with is that the Easter eggs in Black Ops 3, at least for the most part, were just really fun to do. They were just enjoyable. It didn't matter if I wasn't getting anything at all. I just was playing for fun because I enjoyed it. That was a sole purpose, and that's the most important thing in almost every video game ever, that it has to be fun. And I personally feel like that's lacking in Black Ops 4's Easter eggs, except for 9. 9 has a different problem, and I'll get into that one in a little bit, but 9 is an exception here. It is a really fun Easter egg, but if you look at maps like Blood and Voyage, it's just like, are they really all that fun? They're Easter eggs. I mean, the challenges, steps, and voyage are cool. I mean, they're fine. I mean, they're not great. They're not bad. They're a little bit better than okay, but they're nothing really that special. I mean, it has a lot of bad steps also, like the whole solar system step, which I would never count as a good step. I mean, it has its moments, but then the boss fights has its own problem that I'll get into in a different point that we'll be making. But I mean, it's nothing special. The Easter egg as a whole, it's kind of on just in the okay spot. It's just a little bit okay. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing really special about the Voyage Easter egg. There's nothing that draws me to go play that Easter egg over and over again. I mean, by far, it's the coolest Easter egg visually. I really like everything, all the visuals in that Easter egg, but I mean, it's not exactly the funnest Easter egg to play. And then I would talk about Blood, but I've already butchered Blood's Easter egg. If you guys haven't seen my most recent video talking about it, I butchered the heck out of Blood because I personally just do not like Blood's Easter egg in the slightest lately. It's just not a fun Easter egg, and that is a major problem with your game when you're just not being fun. I mean, that's huge. Of course, 9's the exception here, but it's again not perfect because even though it is fun, it does have its problems again that we'll be getting to a little bit. But I just think that's a huge problem with that. The Easter egg steps just for the most, well, not for the most part, but there are just steps in these Easter eggs that just don't make the Easter eggs fun. And even actually 9 does have annoying steps, like where you can't even start appeasing the gods till round 18 is ridiculous. So I mean, even 9 has its own problems. So all of these Easter eggs have these Easter egg steps that are just annoying and just ruin the entire experience for all of them, especially Blood. But again, we're not going to talk about that. I need to stop bringing up Blood because I've already talked about that. But anyways, that is one major problem I see with it, that these Easter eggs are just not fun. And that's again my personal opinion, but I think a good amount of people will probably agree with me that these Easter eggs aren't fun, again, for the exception of 9. But the next thing I want to talk about, and this is the solo friendliness. It's honestly, I used to get upset about this. You guys have probably seen my videos with me raging, even on the point of yelling in rage at this, that developers just don't understand that they have a solo audience that they shouldn't ignore, because most of the people that are streaming their game and stuff like that are mainly playing on solo. So, I mean, I don't know how they don't understand this, but regardless, I'm not going to get upset again. I've already done that a billion times over. I'm just disappointed in them. I can't really talk about it anymore, but these Easter eggs aren't solo friendly. I mean, 9 is kind of solo friendly. Of course, there's a problem with it that separates it from all of them that, again, I'll get into in a second, but really, Blood isn't a solo friendly Easter egg. Voyage isn't a solo friendly Easter egg. They're all just not solo friendly, and that's a really big problem because all of your audience are solo players, but not all of your audience are co-op players. So that's just something they should keep in mind, but they refuse to. It's just something I find quite annoying when they don't make Easter eggs solo friendly. We went through this with World War II. World War II just ignored the problem the entire time and said it was a gameplay design, which it was, but it's still kind of dumb, and I don't know. I really hope they're going to change that up in Black Ops 4 because these first few Easter eggs are just not solo friendly. I mean, I guess technically classified as solo friendly, but that's for a different reason altogether because it's like a really high round and nobody gets to like round 150 with co-op, so that's just something you don't do. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just something that I thought I'd bring up again because it's a really big problem that developers refuse to really acknowledge as a problem. It's just quite ridiculous, and I don't know what is going on in the developer's head each and every time we tell them that their Easter eggs aren't solo friendly, and they need to be. I honestly don't understand it at this point. I can't even get angry anymore. That's just how many times we've gone through this over and over again, just because it's just the same thing over and over again, making the same mistakes. It just doesn't make sense. But anyways, to get around, just now that we're going to be done with that one, because I'm sick of talking about non-solo friendly Easter eggs, because I've talked about it for already a year now, going on 2 years. So let's get that. Just stop talking about that. But the next one I want to talk about is that these Easter eggs in Black Ops 3, where they were actually really fun and replayable, is that in those Easter eggs in Black Ops 3, they were really special because you could do them in a lot of different ways. I mean, in the Rising Drake, you could be doing multiple steps at once. You could be getting Dempsey down from the sky while you're actually going and doing other things, I think. I mean, no, actually a better example, there is some in the Rise and the Rocket, but I don't want to think about them right now because they're too hard to explain. I just remembered in Zetsubo no Shima is a better example, because in Zetsubo no Shima, you need to get 3 different cogs around the map, and you could pick up these cogs in any order you want after all spawning at the same time once you beat the spider, I believe, or complete all the challenges. I think they spawn in, I'm not sure. One of those 2 things you do, and then you're able to pick up the cogs, and you can pick them up in any order you want, and you could just do it however you want. You can play it in the order you want, and then you pick them up in the order that makes it better for however you're playing that day. If you want to go for a challenge, you do it the more challenging way. If you want to do it for a more just casual game, I guess, then you go for the more casual way of doing it. If you're going for a speed run, you go through the speed run way. You just do it in whichever order you want. And then the Rise and the Rocket is another really good example, because in the Rise and the Rocket on solo, when you're playing solo, you could only have to build 1 bow if you want to, or you could build multiple bows if you want for a more challenging experience, or you could use a different bow in that game just to challenge yourself a little bit. Because if you want a casual experience, go for the storm bow. If you want to go for a more difficult experience, go for the keeper bow or the fire bow. You have a bunch of different options how you want to do these Easter eggs, and I really do like that in this. And the wisps is actually a really interesting step, because the wisp step, you could be going back in time and getting different steps. You could be building the DG2 at different times. I mean, you could just do them in different orders, and that's the really big thing that I liked in Black Ops 3 Zombies, and that's just not a thing in Black Ops 4 Zombies. You can't really do the steps in that many different orders, and this is the problem with the 9 Easter egg and all the other ones, but this is what brings 9 from being a great Easter egg to being just a good Easter egg. Because right now it's just a good Easter egg, but it's not a great when it had the potential to be a great Easter egg. And let me explain why. Because you can't really start the appeasing the god steps till round 18, because you can't get the manure finished until round 18, or at least somewhere around there. And then you have to do Danu, Ra, then Zeus, then Odin, I believe that's the order, or is it Odin then Zeus? I can't remember right now, but regardless, you have to do it in the order that they have set for you. So it leaves a very narrow path. You have to follow those steps in a very narrow way. You're not able to just do the appeasing god steps in whichever order you want, because just imagine this, that while you're waiting on the manure to just finish doing whatever it's doing, what if you're doing the Ra step, or you're doing the Zeus step, or the Odin step, or something like that, and you're not just going through rounds just waiting, well, I gotta move this over here now, wait 3 more rounds, move it here now, wait 3 more rounds, move it here now. I mean, it's just not exactly the best experience, to say the very least, because you're just going through rounds and then moving manure from one place to another. It's quite underwhelming, to say the very, very least about it. But just imagine how much better it would be if you could be doing the different appeasing god steps while you're waiting on that manure. You could be getting all the other ones done, and by the time, if you optimize well enough, once the manure is ready to be used for the Danu step, you could have finished all the other ones, so you can optimize the game best for you. Or if you're speed running, then you could just do it in the whichever way it's the faster way to do it. But instead, they set you on a very narrow path that you have to follow one step to the other, one step to the other. You can't start one step and then, well, you can't be working on future step while you're busy with one. You can't be doing 2 steps at once, like you did, well, you had the ability to do in Black Ops 3, which is very disappointing to see, because all these Easter eggs are you have to follow a very narrow path. And that's just what you do. The Easter egg steps that are set in that game, that's what you have to do, unless you mess them up, and then you have to do them in different order in the case of Blood. But regardless, these Easter egg steps are very narrow, the path you have to take, and you don't have that much different experiences from game to game when you're doing it. You can't optimize it differently. You have to do it the exact same way every single time, and I think that really kills it for Black Ops 4's Easter eggs. It's just playing the Easter egg in the exact same way every single time, and I think that is a huge problem with every Easter egg, but 9 is the one I think it hurts the most, because it could be that great Easter egg, but it's not, because it's just annoying, and it's just annoying that they don't let you do them all in one round, but or not all in one round. What am I saying? If you could do them in any order you want, appeasing the gods in whichever order you want, but I don't know, that's just a big problem with it. Now, I do want to talk about one last problem I have with all of this, and this one may be something you disagree with, but I do feel like it really added more to Black Ops 3. But what that is the Gobble Gums system. And if you guys remember, the Gobble Gums, when you use them, if you use the right Gobble Gums, it would really change up how you played the game. When you would use one of the, I forget what it's called. Like if you use, I can't remember which one that drops, the one that drops all the power-ups, I can't remember what it's called. That one, when you could use that to start doing different steps, when you could fly through rounds, you could speed run using them, you could try different combinations of Gobble Gums to get through the rounds faster, to do different steps faster, and just using the nuke Gobble Gum or just ending the round, whatever the one that ends a round, I forget what it's called, it's super rare mega Gobble Gums, I can't remember what it's called, but you could just optimize the steps so much better when you're using Gobble Gums. And the problem is, none of the elixirs in Black Ops 4 really help you optimize these Easter eggs to do them any better. I mean, which one actually helps? The only thing I could think of is the talisman that lets you skip your upgraded special weapon to level 2 right away, so you could get the monkey right away on Blood of the Dead. But you just don't have that option most of the other times because you just can't. I mean, every single time you try to use an elixir to help you optimize your game, it just isn't the case. And I think that was why the Gobble Gums are better, because they allowed you to change up the game. They would really freshen up the game because you could change how you played the game using the Gobble Gums. Even if you did see them as overpowered at some points, it still didn't mean that you didn't use them in a way to just optimize the game better. And the really good example one is the one that ends the round for you, especially for speedrunners, but even on the step in the Rise of the Rocket, where you have to get kills with a certain bow inside the orb with the keeper, or yes, the circle with the keeper, where you have to collect 25 souls, and what you could do is just get 25 souls and just use that Gobble Gum to end the round for you could speedrun past it. And that's what was really cool about the Gobble Gums. They really let you optimize the game, and the elixirs just don't do that. They don't optimize the game or change the game to refresh it for you. And I just think that's why Gobble Gums are currently way better than elixirs, because they just don't change. They don't really freshen up the gameplay experience. And you can disagree with that, saying that the microtransaction system shouldn't change up the experience. But at the same time, I mean, I feel like it just added way more to the game than it took away, but that's just my personal opinion. So feel free to disagree with that last one, but actually feel free to disagree or agree with anything I said in this video, because that's really about it I have to say. I mean, tell me what you guys think about what I had to say in this video. Do you guys agree, disagree, or anything you want to say? Just tell me down in the comments. I'd love to hear all of it. But anyways, that's about it for me. If you guys did enjoy the video, go ahead, do all the normal YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, bell, share, and especially bell. But I'm going to go, and I'll catch you guys in the next stream or video.